Remote mountain cabin, deep woods, autumn. Visuals, a modest wooden home surrounded by tall pines. Chickens cluck, smoke rises from the chimney. For 20 years, Elias and Mara had lived in near total seclusion at the edge of the world, or so it seemed. Their wooden cabin, nestled deep in the folds of an ancient mountain range, had no road leading to it, only a worn path lined with moss and pine needles. Autumn had painted the forest in deep gold and rust, and the air was laced with the sharp scent of wood smoke and damp earth. Each day unfolded with the quiet rhythm of a life well lived. Elias, broad-shouldered and steady, would tend the chickens and split firewood while Mara, still graceful despite her years, baked bread and gathered herbs from the garden. They didn't need much, just each other, the land, and the comfort of their shared routines. Evenings were their favorite. They'd sit by the fireplace. Elias carving small wooden toys from leftover kindling, Mara reading aloud from a worn book of old stories. The only sounds were the crackling fire, the wind brushing the cabin walls, and the occasional hoot of an owl in the distance. They had once dreamed of a house full of children, but life had not granted that wish. After years of trying, and later grieving, they had made peace with the silence. Yet in that silence, something sacred had grown, a quiet, enduring love, unspoken but ever present. Their life was simple. Predictable. Safe. But fate, like the mountain weather, was about to change without warning. And it would begin, not with thunder, but with the faintest knock on their door. Midnight during a thunderstorm, outside their cabin. Visuals, lightning flashes, pouring rain, wind howls through the trees. The storm came suddenly, howling through the mountains like a living thing. Rain lashed the cabin windows in sheets, and the wind moaned through the pines with a voice that sounded almost human. Elias stirred in bed, instinct sharp despite the years. Something felt off. Then came the knock. Soft. Barely audible over the storm. But it was there, 3 gentle taps. He sat up straight, heart thudding. "Did you hear that?" Mara, half asleep, blinked at him. "It's probably a branch." Another knock. Louder this time. Then another. Elias grabbed the lantern and made his way to the front door, boots crunching against the wooden floorboards. He opened it slowly, half expecting to see nothing but the rain. But there, on the porch, was a basket. Woven tightly, lined with blankets. Inside, a baby. Pink-skinned. Crying. Mara gasped behind him. "Oh my God. Elias." But before they could react, Elias spotted another basket. And another. 10 in total. Each soaked, each nestled beneath a wool blanket. Each one crying, cold and utterly alone. He bent down to lift one, only to notice something tied to its handle, a note, handwritten, smudged with water. A name. A time of birth. Each baby's note read the same hour, just minutes apart. They looked around wildly. No footprints. No wagon. No shadows in the trees. Only the storm, screaming through the forest, as if trying to erase all signs of who had been there. Mara didn't hesitate. She grabbed the nearest child, clutching it to her chest. Inside. Now. And so the door closed, behind it, 10 newborns and 2 stunned, shaking elders. And outside, the mountain storm raged on. As if guarding a secret it had just delivered. Inside the cabin, lit by lantern and firelight. Rain still beats against the windows. Visuals, 10 tiny bundles swaddled in dry blankets. Mara cradles 2 babies at once while Elias rocks another in a basket beside the hearth. The storm outside had not let up, but the cabin inside now pulsed with life. 10 tiny cries echoing off the log walls, filling a space that had once been defined by silence. Elias paced between baskets, stoking the fire hotter and hotter to fight the chill clinging to the baby's skin. Mara worked quickly, her hands trembling but sure, drying and wrapping each infant with whatever cloth and wool they had. Old quilts. Shawls. Even their best wedding blanket. Milk warmed in a pan on the stove, goat's milk, their only option. Mara tested the temperature on her wrist and dipped a cloth in it, holding it to one of the baby's lips. The child suckled. Weakly, then stronger. They're newborns, she murmured, still in disbelief. They must have been born hours ago. All of them. Elias frowned, crouching to look at the handwritten tags again. Same hour, 10 of them. That can't be natural. No mother. No carriage. No trail, Mara whispered. How did they even get here? Neither had an answer. The baskets were handmade but unfamiliar. The notes were written in different ink colors, some with steady hands, others shakier. They weren't abandoned, Mara said suddenly. They were given. Elias met her eyes. You think someone meant, for us to find them? I feel it, she said, voice trembling. Elias, this may sound mad, but what if this is the life we were meant to have all along? Elias looked down at the child in his arms, so small, so weightless, yet pulling something deep in his chest that he hadn't felt in decades. Outside, the wind slowed. Inside, 10 babies slept in peace for the first time. And 2 hearts, once quiet, began to open wide again. Following days, trails through the woods, nearby ranger station, and inside the cabin slowly transforming. Visuals, Elias hiking with a pack through foggy pines. Mara bathing a baby in a wooden bowl, humming softly. Laundry lines full of baby cloth. By sunrise, the storm had passed, but the mystery it left behind was just beginning. Elias set out early, boots crunching through damp leaves, rifle slung across his back and one of the baby tags in his pocket. The nearest ranger station was miles away, a 5-hour trek even in good weather, but he had to try. Someone, somewhere, might have answers. Might be searching for 10 missing newborns. Back at the cabin, Mara was already transforming their world. She cleared shelves, moved furniture, folded towels into makeshift bedding. One baby lay wrapped in a shawl on the table, another nestled in a wicker basket by the fire. She sang lullabies she hadn't sung in years, half-forgotten melodies her own mother once whispered. When Elias returned by dusk, face weary and clothes soaked, he had nothing to show. No reports of missing children. No caravans, wagons, or visitors in the area. No tracks found in the woods. Rangers were baffled. One even joked that maybe the mountain spirits had delivered them. And yet, things had started to change. Subtly. The wildlife, usually skittish, now wandered closer to the cabin. A wounded fox limped to the porch one morning and laid down peacefully beside the chickens. The weather softened, too, less biting, more forgiving. Even the goats were producing more milk than usual. Each baby, now clean and warm, was thriving. Their cries grew stronger, their eyes more alert. They smiled, early, too early, the kind of smile that made Mara pause mid-motion and whisper, "You've been here before, haven't you?" Elias stood in the doorway that evening, looking out over the ridge, the valley beyond glowing under moonlight. "These children," he murmured, "they didn't just survive that storm. They are the storm." Mara wrapped an arm around him. "No," she said softly. "They're what comes after." 1 year later, springtime. Outside the cabin now surrounded by flowers, handmade cribs, and laughter. Visuals, 10 toddlers toddling across soft grass. Chickens weaving between their little legs. Mara hangs linen while Elias carves toys under a blooming tree. A full year passed since the night the mountain delivered its miracle. Spring had returned, gentler this time. The wind carried songbirds instead of storms, and the forest floor bloomed with wildflowers around the edges of the clearing, almost as if nature itself had softened for the children. The cabin no longer felt like a home for two, it pulsed with energy, with laughter, with life. The inside was lined with cribs Elias had built himself, each carved with the name written on the baby's original tag. Blankets were stacked high. Toys spilled across every corner. The couple's days were no longer quiet, they were joyfully loud, beautifully chaotic. Mara looked younger somehow. Her steps were lighter. She sang while cooking, her apron stained with flour and the tiny handprints of children learning to knead dough. Elias, too, had changed. He no longer moved with the heavy quiet of a man used to silence. He joked, he played, he danced with his arms full of little ones who clung to his beard and called him Papa. The state had visited. Investigations were made. DNA tests. Missing persons databases. But no answers came. The children had no matches, no history. They simply existed. Alive and well. 10 impossible blessings. The state offered to take them. Place them in proper homes. But Elias and Mara didn't hesitate. No, Elias had said, holding the smallest boy in his arms. They're not lost. They're found. Right where they belong. And so the ridge kept its secret. Atop the mountain, under tall pines and wide sky, 10 children played in the grass, watched over by 2 souls who had once lived in stillness. And now thrived in the sound of 10 tiny heartbeats. The mountain had chosen them. And they had chosen love.